So what got me into all this sort of stuff, exploration, adventure, is ultimately just curiosity. I've always been curious what other people do around the planet. I always loved maps, and the more photos that I kept seeing and videos that I kept seeing just made me more and more curious. And obviously every time you do something you want to push the boundary and go next level, next level, next level. And yeah, here we are. This is next level at the moment, but obviously we'll build from here. I've always been fascinated by Mongolia. It's just one of those countries, and it's one of those countries that I think if you say Mongolia to anyone, their ears and eyes light up. And so this is where this whole idea sparked from. Ultimately, the desire to go into the Gobi and see what it's like and see what we can do here to impact Mongolia in a positive way. The whole idea came about from, as all ideas, beer. So that was the initial chat. And then off the back of that, so myself and Michael just said, look, we need to do something epic in Asia. And we both had a discussion, where would we both like to go? And we both simultaneously said Gobi Desert. And from there, we just built from there. So we sort of looked at what the Explorers Club have done previously, our skill sets, our assets, our network, and just came up with an idea. And that's where we found out about Roy Chapman Andrews. We realised he was the first person to carry the Explorers Club flag. The biggest part was obviously, I mean, you have to have certain ingredients to each idea. So the first part was definitely the Gobi. And then from there, it was like, what can we do that would be useful in the Gobi Desert? We don't just want to go to the Gobi Desert and then leave again. And that's where, within 24 hours, the research of Roy Chapman Andrews and dinosaurs, fossils, it all started to come together. And then I got in touch with one of my friends, Drew, who's always been at the cutting edge of mapping. And he works with someone in NASA, Scott, who helps with the exploration of Mars. And then the excitement level just went through the roof from there. And personally, from my perspective, I think it's the multidisciplinary nature of something like this. I love working with you guys. I love working with the tech guys. I love working with the IPG guys. So everyone's professionals in their own field. And this is quite an experimental idea because we're not here just for one thing. There's several objectives that we're looking to complete. There's people from all over the world. And we're here for a short time. And so we're trying to work as efficiently and effectively as possible to deliver on all of those objectives. But obviously all have a good time, not have any issues with any people, and to maximize our time out here. The idea came about 2 years ago, and once we'd got the key parts of the idea, we then needed to obviously prioritize and then execute on each of those parts. And all of this takes time. But as each block started to fit into place, the reality of it became, well, it just became apparent that we could actually deliver on what we thought we could deliver on. And that's where it got really exciting. And yeah, here we are. So these last 2 weeks, I've just had a massive smile on my face, sort of, with that realization that you can dream this big and you can deliver. You just got to work at it. Yeah, okay. I guess, honestly, if I think about what's the hardest or the scariest part of it, I think it's not delivering on what you say you're going to deliver on. And because I think a lot of this is down to reputation, both personal and Explorers Club, and bringing professionals in from around the world, because obviously they've got a reputation as well. And so you're asking everybody to put their reputation on their line a little bit to deliver, and to deliver on almost the unknown. And especially with dinosaur fossils, I mean, there's an element of luck out there for sure. And so to say that you're going to do X, Y, Z, you better be pretty confident and build a good enough team to at least give yourself the best chance. So that has been at the back of my mind, but ever since we've been here, I mean, I'm more than impressed with what's happened. I mean, how to take something from almost conception to completion is simplify it all. So you need to have the big idea and the vision, and then once you've got that, you just need to work backwards into how you're realistically going to achieve that vision. And the best way to do that is just to break it down into very simple blocks, and then look at where you might have spaces or voids, and then try and fill those voids. But the important thing is not just to fill them with anyone. You want to fill them with equal or better level with who we're working with, so that everybody's on the same page and there's a high level of professionalism, and that everybody else delivers on what they say they're going to deliver on. Because if any one of these legs falls, the whole thing can come crashing down. In terms of environments, I'm just fascinated by extremes. So I love going to really, really cold, wild places, and the the jungle, up mountains, and the desert obviously fascinates me. But for some reason, the Gobi to me has never just been a desert. It's always been a fascinating desert, and it's a desert in Mongolia. And obviously you've got Genghis Khan, and you've got the history there, and you've got the hard life that these guys live out here. And obviously, and it's still nomadic, it's still very traditional. And we found out yesterday about the most poisonous animals in the Gobi Desert, as AHA found. So yeah, I just love it, and this is going to sound really strange, but I just love the lack of people. I love the fresh air, and I love the real wild landscape, because this, if you look around, is very similar to Mars from the pictures that we've seen. I mean, it's a bit tricky. I think the biggest thing is everybody's trying just to find their feet a little bit. I mean, it's multidisciplinary, it's international, there's a variety of ages, there's a variety of professions, there's a variety of backgrounds and sexes as well. And we're all out in the middle of nowhere, and we're largely all dependent on each other. And so that team has to work cohesively and smoothly. And so a big part of my role I see is hold it together, but not too much. And just keep tabs on everyone and just make sure everything's running smoothly, and any issues that anyone's got, make sure you listen to it and act on it as quickly and as appropriately as you can. And the Mongolian side, I mean, these guys have been brilliant. I think there's obviously the natural communication issues sometimes, and sometimes there might be a few just misunderstandings culturally, but ultimately I think after the first few days everything's slotted into place really well, and everyone seems happy, and we have regular check-ins every single day, and anything that needs to be sorted is. I think when I look at anything, I think the first thing is survival. So what's the first thing you need to make sure that everybody's good? So you need to make sure that we've got suitable water, suitable shelter, and then you need to think about the practicalities of how this is all going to work. So even before you get to the Gobi Desert, how are 40 people going to come together? Where are all the different factions going to go? What might they require? And so all of that is communication as well before you even get here. What do you guys need? What in an ideal world, realistically and minimal? And then just try and work with that the best you can. Now, obviously, nothing's perfect. And obviously, these dust storms might have been a little bit stronger than all of us anticipated. But I think modern equipment and the right people, you can get through anything nowadays. I think the big thing about exploration is it's core to humanity. And that's been shown through the ages. Even if you trace right back to the first humans on Earth, they naturally spread. They naturally travelled. They naturally wanted to find out what was over the horizon. They got on boats and sailed to the end of the horizons, having no idea what was going to happen. They tested all animals by eating them, and obviously if people died, they document that and pass on that knowledge. And I just love all that from a historical standpoint. And obviously now we're in the modern world, and we have everything that we have, and a lot of the world's been mapped. But I still think, I mean, look at us, we're mapping in extremely high detail an area that has never been mapped. And I think as things go forward, people just need to be a little bit more innovative and creative in terms of what questions are still there to be answered, and how can we bring together the right resources to answer them. And I think for me personally, it all comes back to that curiosity. I'm a very curious person. I think the big thing about the Explorers Club and why it's important is, again, history. You're looking at over 100 years now of amazing people doing amazing things, and they continue to push. And I just know from life that if you surround yourself with like-minded people, you will end up like them or going in that direction and learning from those people. And the Explorers Club, from what I've found globally, is the best magnet for those type of people. Now, if you can bring those type of people together and make them work towards a common goal to answer said questions, I think there's very few things that can't be achieved. And I don't know any other organisation that offers that sort of upside. Yeah, I think it's really important, this whole curiosity thing, because I think there's many other people out there like me, and I think there always will be people like us. And I think the great thing about what we're doing out here is we're building on a foundation that's already been set by Roy Chapman Andrews, and others will then build on our foundation that we've made. And so you're effectively just putting the next step in the system or the ladder of progress. And so I guess in a strange way, you're just becoming a very tiny part of history that helps humanity move forward for the better of all of us. And yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, but it feels good. Going forward, I hope that this is seen as an example of what's possible with little resources to start off with, for sure. So I think it just shows the power of an idea, and it also shows that if the right people come together towards a common goal, what can be achieved. And personally, or myself and Michael, this is step one of 1,000 steps, as it were. Like, this is the foundation, this is the baseline, and from here we'll build. And we've already been talking to other members of the Explorers Club here, and they're quite wowed by what's been achieved already, but I don't think they have any idea what we've got in our minds in terms of 10x in this minimum. And my own sort of aspirations are space. Like, that's what I'm fascinated in. So to me, coming here, it's a little bit like Mars. So for me, it's nice just to sample these sorts of environments. But again, now I'm ready for the next. Okay, that's Gobi. Yeah, I know what that's all about. There's deadly animals. There's not many people. It's quite a harsh environment. But what's next? Like, how else can we push, and what will be required to operate in those environments, and what can you actually do that's useful in those environments, that's useful for other people? Yeah, I think I really do think it's exciting for the future, and I think a big part of it is just innovation and imagination.